Hi, everyone, and welcome to Skills 101. There's a big difference between seeing an alert and actually understanding the risk behind it. And that's what we're diving into today. We'll walk you through how to investigate what matters and turn those signals into real action. Drop your questions into the Q&A as we go. We'll also have a live Q&A at the end. Matt, over to you.
Hi, welcome to another session of Skills 101. Uh, those of you who have been with us before would have noticed that the tooling that we spoke about before, called Security Guardian, it's been renamed. So we're calling it Identity Defense now. We like the name, we're going to stick with that name. Today, we're going to look at going from alerts to actions with like it says over here, investigating hybrid identity risk. With Harry and myself last time, Harry last time was just navigating the dashboard. Myself originally was the installation of the solution itself. From here, we're just going to start looking at actually taking some actions inside that environment. Just to give you a quick reminder, what the platform does, it collects a lot of data from on-prem. So you're looking at what I refer to as the static data, which is around who's got what permissions inside of Active Directory, what groups are inside, as well as the deployment of the agents to the domain controllers, which will capture the changes as they're happening inside your environment. Apart from that, the platform's the same, it's just got a new name. The first part of this is taking the data that we collect from on-prem, that static data that I referred to, as well as the audit data, and starting to look at it from a context of vulnerability and threat to your tier 0 environment. So the identity posture management, as we've said here, would be looking at things like privilege escalation inside your environment. How do we figure these things out? We'll go deeper into that. The example that's highlighted here is actually the problem with the DMSA accounts, which is a new feature in Windows 25. So if you've introduced a single domain controller, Windows 2025, you might have this problem inside your environment. Or I say you might have, you do have. The way we pick the data up, we separate this into 4 specific types. So hygiene, which is that data that comes from on-prem, which I refer to as static data. The detect TTP is often using some of that data, which means we understand the structure and the tier 0 assets that you got, but we'll look at the change data as it comes through so that we can see tactics, techniques, and procedures that are being used inside your environment potentially. Anomaly detection being another good one to have, which is we look at the volume of data that's coming through. We'll see if we're noticing that there's an increase in loggings to Entra, for example. We notice that there's a lot of replication traffic that is unauthorized. We'll pick that up and we'll start showing you, rather than showing you, as you can see in the right-hand example here, 80 irregular domain replication detected, we won't show you the 60 events. We'll actually show you it concatenated so that we can show you there is a problem in the environment that needs to be taken care of. And obviously that last one is all about those tier 0 assets that you got inside your environment. A lot of environments have an established tier 0, but this is what the point of this platform is. It wants to establish tier 0 so that you can protect tier 0. Talking about protection, we've got 2 components to this. Within the platform itself, we've got the Shields Up component, and then we'll move into another part which has just been recently added to the platform, which is those custom protection templates. Shields Up move from reactive to proactive. And what do I mean by that is, rather than sitting waiting for something to happen and then reacting to what has happened already in the environment, so a lot of the other solutions in the market will let you roll back the problem. Rollback's just too slow in this day and age. What we've got to do is proactively protect those objects. And with Shields Up, this is a custom template we've created. Our directory experts inside of Quest, with their deep understanding of Active Directory and what needs to be protected on an object versus what we need to leave unprotected for functionality purposes, they've been able to dive into all of this and then enable in a single click the ability to do what we refer to as Shields Up. You'll find that there's 2 schools of thoughts within the security practitioners within Quest itself. One saying we could react to a potential breach. So we feel there is a breach, we could react by bringing shields up. Then you'll find people like myself, which I've ran this for years when it was the original tooling, where I would run this in a perpetual shields up state. Because what you can do with shields up, again, I'll show you as we go through this, you can add override accounts to these. Like I said, that last part of this, before we get into the actual environment, is those custom templates we've now made available inside the platform. Every day, the platform is evolving. We're adding new features, and I'm sure we'll be doing a lot more of these Skill 101s just to show you those new features and how to configure those. I'm going to switch over to my, you join me now in the dashboard. I'm going to move across to the high severity findings on the right-hand side here. I'm going to pick two of these events or findings that we see here. Irregular Active Directory replication, as well as I'll pick on ordinary user accounts with hidden privileges, SDProp. First one to show you is the irregular replication in Active Directory. I'm not going to show you exactly what I'm going to troubleshoot with this, but what I want to point out here is in all environments, there are audit events that happen that you need to exclude specific accounts from actually triggering these audit events. So example would be, in this case, that you've got EntraConnect set up inside your environment. The accounts, the MSOL accounts that get used by EntraConnect, they will trigger this audit event. But you don't want to see that trigger. It's going to be extremely noisy. We want to get rid of that. So we've added the capability, if I go through to the hybrid audit on the left-hand side over here, and I just pop down to the audited events. This is the list of everything we're auditing inside the environment. To make it easy for myself over here, I'm going to just sort by excluded objects, and you'll notice that the one pops up to the top with one already excluded. This is to show you that what I could do here, if you select a single event, you can exclude an account, add the name of the account, and you can use wildcards to do this as well. The wildcards, we just do want the domain name / and then the user name after it. You can put an asterisk behind that. That'll give you a wildcard for, say, all the MSOL accounts. As an example, I'll show you if I click on the actual one that I've highlighted here, you'll notice that I have a exclusion for burnt digital / MSOL _ and then asterisk, because the numbers are, there's quite a few different sequence numbers that you get with the MSOL accounts. You could argue whether it's right or wrong to add that wildcard, and I should be doing individual accounts. I just got lazy on this one, and I've added the MSOL accounts themselves. Right, from there, we're going to just go back to that dashboard, and I'm going to come through to the event that we're going to start investigating. There's obviously going to be quite a few events in my environment. The reason we leave it that way, it's a demo environment. So we want to show most of the capabilities here. As you mature with the solution, you're going to find less and less, or you should find less and less activities or findings that you should pay attention to. So ordinary user accounts with hidden privilege SDProp. So if I click on investigate on the right-hand side, what you'll see if you read across this, what's wrong in the environment, it's not wrong. What actually happens is when you take an account and you add it to a privileged group, there's an attribute, admin count. An admin count gets changed from 0 to 1. When you move the user out of that group, it doesn't change back to 0. It stays as 1. It's a flag that's been set. The platform will pick this up as this account used to have privilege, but doesn't anymore. However, the reason we pick it up is because this could be an indicator of compromise. It's a known tactic that if I escalate privilege inside your environment, if I can escalate privilege, one of the things I want to do to hide the fact that I was in the environment is I want to remove that object from the privileged accounts again. That means I'm going to leave this trace effect afterwards. So yes, as per standard, all accounts that you use, let's say in a PAM solution, you start using a PAM solution. If you're using a PAM solution, you would want to exclude those accounts again from triggering this finding. But you're not going to go to the exclusion. So maybe I used the wrong word there, but let's see, MC Blue, I'm saying I actually don't want this coming up all the time because I know that MC Blue is a managed account managed by my PAM solution. So I want you to mute this object. All we're going to do is tell you that we're going to mute this object only for this finding. We're not going to ignore it completely just for this finding. We're going to ignore it and move forwards. So it'll go through, it'll mute that finding for you. Once the finding has been muted for that object, you may notice that it's actually the burnt digital one that disappeared. I'll have to refresh this view for you. But ultimately, that object will not report again after you've muted it. What I'm more interested in is I'm going to look at the MC Red account. So I know that this account shouldn't have been an admin inside my environment. Whatever the reason is, I'm going to go look at that. So if I click on View Related Activity, that will give me an immediate view of everything this account has done inside my environment. The other component here, View Assessment, it's just going to give you a timeline of this particular ordinary user accounts with hidden privileges. It's going to give you that timeline of over the last 7, 30, or 90 days, whether it's up or down, whatever the trend is for this. But I'm going to click through to View Related Activity. You can see that now I pivot into the audit data and it will visualize everything the account's been doing. Obviously, there's a lot of information here. This has been a busy little account, and in your environments, it could be a lot busier than that as well. What I'm going to do is you can actually deselect the things that you're not interested in looking at, and as you go through, it'll just augment the visualization so that all you've got left is the stuff you're going to actually start digging into. When you get through to things like nested member added to a critical enterprise group, or user members added to critical enterprise group, these are the important parts that you're going to start looking at as well. So for me, the first one I'm going to look is member added to a critical enterprise group. Now, keep in mind that these were activities performed by the MC Red account. So you'll notice in the user actor, we've got the user actor being MC Red. What I'm interested in is looking at what was MC Red doing. Immediately, the information that comes to light here is the fact that a month ago, MC Red, when it had privilege, added a new user to domain admins. That domain admins is MC Pink. So from here, what do? We start digging into that investigation. So if I'm going to dig into the investigation, I can either go through the data that was in that finding. Just to save us some time, what I'll do is I'll go into my searches over here. I can build any search that I like coming into my searches, adding criteria to each search. If I click on this one over here, this will give me all of the information where I find MC Pink in the event itself. I can see a couple of things going on here. Nested member added to a group, members added to group, members added to critical enterprise groups. So this just confirms my original finding. What I'm going to take a look at is actions by the MC Pink account. So the actions by the MC Pink account, very short list on this one, immediately looks at this group policy setting change. More importantly for this, for what we're covering today, is I want to show you how I built that. Simple, the user actor contains MC Pink. You can add other criteria to this to start filtering it down. But all I did was literally say, I want to find everything this account did inside my environment, saved it as a search for me. The reason you want to save this is because you could have multiple searches while you're doing your investigation, and you want to keep track of everything that you're doing. So clicking save on this so that I can interact with it. I'm going to go back to those searches and just kick it off again. Clicking on this, I can see that there's a policy change, group policy change made. I can immediately see that this is a bit of a problem because it was the default domain controller policy that was changed. This was set to Doom VBS. So this could obviously indicate that we've got a little bit of a problem inside our environment. Right, that's enough of taking a look through the visualizations and the audit data that you can pivot to from any finding that we have within identity defense. From here, I'm going to go into the audit, hybrid audit tab, just to show you a couple of things. So firstly, we've got the audit events. As I showed you, you have those accounts that you could exclude from there. Below that, what you're going to be looking at is protect. as I said, protection is split into two components here. One, protection, which is where we create those custom templates. Two, which is a pre-built template that is deployed called Shields Up. Shields Up itself targets any tier 0 asset, whether it's certified or not. It is tier 0, which means it has privilege. So therefore, the policy applies to all those objects when applied. What you can do here is you can add an override account to this as well. So again, by selecting the simple forest that I'm working with, if I click add override access, I can type in any account in my environment and add it as an override account. You can have more than one override account, and it makes sense if you've got things like PAM and again, identity and access governance or identity and access management platforms inside your environment. What I like around the interaction of this with the other solutions that you've already spent money on is that you can make sure that your investment is adhered to. And what do I mean by this? I mean that nobody starts working outside of the bounds, out of scope. You want to make sure that if you've got a solution such as, I don't know, GPO admin, which is a solution we sell at Quest, it's specifically for managing the GPOs in your environment. It's a governance platform. But what it does is it proxies control through an account that it has privilege with to make changes to GPOs. If a domain admin decides that they want to make a change outside of scope, they can still do this. How do you enforce that? Well, you can enforce it with this by having an override account that is only allowed to make changes to GPOs, meaning that they will not be able to use anything other than the tool that you've purchased for that purpose. That again, this policy is specifically written by our directory experts, because when it targets all the tier 0 assets themselves, there's a couple of things that you can't stop it from doing, or you're not meant to stop it from doing, and that's what our experts have crafted here. When we come across to the hybrid audit and go into protection, you'll notice that as soon as I click create template, we warn you about this. We're not saying that you don't know what you're doing, but there's certain intricacies within AD that you've got to consider. So I would not use my own template to protect tier 0 assets. I would use Shields Up. What I would do this for is I would use this for creating protection across AD objects, groups, users, the entire environment essentially, as well as group policy. I'll give you a couple of examples here. So if I go in here, you've obviously got to give it a name. Select group policy. At this point, it's going to ask me, right, what do you want to do? Do you want to protect all group policies in the forest? You can only have one of these, by the way. You can only have that set to one. We actually warn you in the information here that it can only be one in the environment. The check mark below is if you've purchased the solution I just mentioned earlier. It's just something to do with the integration. Or you can select group policies individually, where you could literally just type in any of your group policies, select that policy, and then protect it accordingly. I'm going to stick to the one which is the one I actually used in the live environment many years ago when I was working for another company. Over here, what I'm going to be doing is, again, I can protect this from creation, deletion, modified attributes, but I also always protect it from being linked. Because if I manage to take over a GPO and I can modify the contents, if I can link it to wherever your objects are stored, and within minutes, I can have malware across your environment. Once I've done that, it's a simple step of save and continue. This is where I add that override account. We can try any of the accounts in the environment. I'm just going to use the QD admin account, which is the main domain admin account. And then save and finish. Right, now it's created that new template. What happens now is the agents that are running on the domain controllers will, within time, they've got a poll interval that they will speak up through to the platform via the broker inside the environment. And it will pull down a new copy of your protection templates and then protect the specific template that you've just created. Going back into this, I can take a look at a different template. We're just going to call this one AD. Again, Active Directory objects. This is where you're a little bit more specific around what it is that you're protecting. So if I go in and I select a specific object that I want to protect inside there, is, let's say, hybrid PCs. Let's go with Hyper-V administrators. This object, there is a few selections below here that will be used in later releases as well. You can have create, modify attributes, delete, or even prevent the object your protection from being moved. You add that object, and then you can add as many as you like inside here, so you can create a single policy for multiple groups, or again, a single policy for multiple users in the environment. If I save and continue, you'll see that I've got the attribute protection. So I can do all attributes, or I can start being selective. So let's say you didn't want anybody to change the password because you wanted to use a central password change. You could select that attribute. If you want all except a specific attribute, so you don't want the password being blocked from being changed because you want the user to be able to do that themselves, you would add that here. Every single attribute is listed below this so that you can set account expires if you wanted to, as an example, and save and continue. Your flags, again, flags within inside Active Directory if an attribute has a flag state. So like admin count has got a flag state of 0 or 1. You could add those here. The object that I've selected hasn't got those for what I'm specifically doing. Save and continue, and then this is where we add that override account again. So again, I'm going to select QD admin just for a point of an example here, but if you had an identity access management platform that you were using to create and manage accounts outside of Active Directory, so you're not using the native tooling, this is where you add that service account to make sure that your investment is protected and nobody's going outside of scope. So save and finish, and again, it will move through creating that policy, and then eventually within a short period, the domain controllers will poll through the broker to pick up that new policy. Right, now that we've deployed these policies, and as you may have noticed when I pivoted over to prevention previously, I had already enabled shields up inside my environment. Let's show you practically what this looks like. So if I go and open my little test environment over here, you can see that I'm logged into Work at EU. I'm actually logged in as a domain admin, so I'm just going to prove this out to you. There's that, and the normal who am I. You'll see that it's M Clark that I'm logged in as. If I go into domain admins, you'll see that there I am. That's the account. There's that username that I'm using. So according to normal principles, I should be able to modify anything I like within this Active Directory right now. So if I open this up, go to members, I should be able to select any member. So I'll take Natalia here and I'll remove her from this. Yes, apply, and it blocks me. This has been tested several times in the field where pen testers have tried to get around this. They're unable to get around this. What we're doing is we are stopping this in memory. We're not changing ACLs on anything. We are literally stopping the change in memory. We're not rolling it back because, as I've said before, rollback is way too slow when it comes to the day and age that we live in at the moment. So I've got insufficient permissions, right? So I'm going to cancel out of that. What I'll do now is I will launch this ADUC as somebody else. So the override account. Let's run this as a different user. So QD admin was that account that I kept on using, and just pivot away over here. I need to grab the password. Please be patient with me. So as you can see, we've got some decent security on the environment. Type that password in. Right, now that will launch a new console. I'm now using the console as QD admin. If I go into that domain admins group, go to the members, I can remove Natalia from the environment. No problem. She's out. And just to be nice, I'm going to add it back in since she'd probably want to work again tomorrow morning. Now, something that's just happened here is everything that I've done has been audited, even the failures. And there's a reason for auditing failures. If you're under an attack and you don't know that you're under attack because you're not seeing the signals of the failures, that's a problem. So we capture the successes and the failures, and then we'll use the back-end processing using AI and machine learning to actually show you that there is a potential attack within your environment. Thanks for your time today. Appreciate that. Do remember to catch us on the next session, which is Change Auditor or Identity Defense. They can work together. They can complement each other. It's just a different stage of their evolution that you would use the other platform. This will be on May 26th, 11 a.m. Eastern Time. Scan the QR code so that you can register for that session as soon as possible. Thanks all.